In this tutorial, we're going to create a first outcome. We want to see all courses a particular student is enrolled in. So we're going to be using an unbound combination box to use a subform. And when we select the actual course, say Rick, we can see he's enrolled in 4 courses. Click on Print Preview and actually develop a report that shows us the total cost of the reports, the GST portion of that, the number of courses that they're enrolled in. And to do this, we're going to be creating a couple of forms, a query, and also a report. We'll also be using a macro. So let's get underway. To start with, we're going to go into the database tools and go to the relationships. So what I want to be able to do is select the student ID. I then want to be able to show the title of the course and the cost, and also the course ID. Then when I produce the report, not only do I want to see the student ID, I want to see the first name and the last name, also the course ID, the title, and the cost of the courses as well. And then I'll be able to perform some calculations. And this is going to be done off a dynamic query. So rather than just being student ID number 3, we can actually select from a combo box which student we want to view, and then we can run the report to actually show us, and then we can send the information to the printer if we want. So let's get underway. So the first thing we need to do is create a blank form. So we're going to go up to Create and go into Form Design. We're going to associate this form with the students table. So we're going to select Table Students, and then we're going to go to Design View and add a combo box. We're going to draw the combo box on the stage, and I actually want to find a record and click on Next. What do I want to see? I want to see the student ID, first name, last name, and the date of birth, and click on Next. I want to see everything including the student ID, click on Next, and then I need to give it a label. So we're going to go Select Student and click on Finish. And this will be the label. So it says Select Student. So when I go into the view of this, it's got Select Student. I can then select Rick, and that's his student ID number. Now we're just going to go back in the design of this, and we're going to select the combo box itself. Because at the moment the combo box is combo 0, and I want to call this combo selected student. So I know what the name of this combo box is, because I need to talk to this later. So once I've done that, I'm going to save this, and this is going to be FRM student enrollment, and click on OK. Now once we've created this form, we now need to create a query. So once again, we're going to go to Create, and we're going to create a query in Design View. First thing we're going to do is add the tables. You can double click them to add them, or you can click Arrange and use the Add button at the bottom. I'm just double clicking them, and I need all 3 of them at the moment, and I can click Close or the square at the top. What I want to see is the student ID, I want to see the course ID, and I want to see the title and the cost. So I can either double click them or I can click drag them down. So when I run this query now, you actually see that all students are displayed with the course ID, title, and the cost. What I want to be able to do with the query is refine that. So if you select student, say 3, it only shows the records relating to student number 3, and there's 4 courses for Rick. And if I select student number 7 for Morty, there's only 2 records. So what I want to do now is have the query pull its information from this combo box right here. So the query, rather than being a static query of just number 7 or number 3, I want it to be dynamic. In other words, whatever the user selects in that combo box. To do that, we're going to use the wizard. So we're just going to delete that, right mouse click and go to Build. We're going to go to our database. We're going to select Forms. You can go Loaded Forms, which is the one that is open, but I'm going to go All Forms at this point in time, and I'm going to select Form Student Enrollment. Now you remember that we actually called the combo box Combo Selected Student. So that is the one that I want to have a look at. So I'm telling the database to look at that particular combo box, and I want it to look at the value. I want to get the value from that. So you see Forms, the name of the form, and then the name of the actual object I want the data from. I'm just going to click on OK. I'm now going to save this. I'm going to call it QRY Selected Student. And I'm going to click on OK. So if in the runtime view here, I select student number 7, when I run my query, I should get all the results for number 7. So the query is looking at what I've selected in combo box here. So if I select 3, and I run my query again, design, and then run, you can see all the records relating to student ID 3 are shown. Now once I've done that, I want to actually create a form. So rather than running the query in a separate tab, I can actually see the information below. So I'm just going to close this query at the moment. I'm going to select the query. I'm going to go up to create and I'm going to go to form wizard. And I want to make a form from the query. So this form is going to open the query and display the information, and that query is looking at this form here with what the user has selected. And I want to see the student ID, the title and the cost. Click on next. I want it in tabular. Next. Title of the form will be SFRM selected student, and click on finish. Now once you've done that, you can then close this form, go into the design of student enrollment, and then we're going to drag over the subform and place that on the form. I'm then going to move this up into position and make it a little bit taller. You'll notice that the master field's been selected and also the child field. And now I can save this, Command S, and then run this form. So as I select, say, Morty, you can see the records. As I select Rick, you see his records, and if you select Leon Marsden, you see my records. So what we want to do now is actually create a report that displays this in a much better fashion, and something that we want to send to the printer. So we're now going to go up to create, and we're going to go use the report wizard. I want to actually use the query to get my information from. So this is what's doing the query and extracting all the records. So this is the one we need to make the report for. I want to see the student ID, but I also want some other information as well. I want some information from the student table. I want their first name and their last name as well. I can then go back to the query, display the course ID, title and cost, and click on next. In here I can group on different sort of fields, but I don't want to do that at the moment because I could actually do a report showing all students enrolled in a particular year, grouped by subject, and I could do that in here, or course title. So I'm just going to click on next because I don't want any grouping. I then want to click on, you can then do sorts, so I could do the most expensive course to the cheapest course. I can sort the courses alphabetical, etc., etc. I'm going to have no sorting at the moment and click on next. I'm going to have tabular again and also in portrait view and get it to auto adjust. Click on next. I then need to give it a name, so I'm going to call this RPT, student enrollments, and then I'm going to click on finish. So you notice that at the moment it's got Leon Marsden. If I go here and I select Rick, if I close the report and then run the report now, it's now got all Rick's information because the report's looking at the query is looking at this form, and this form displays all the information. Also the form, as I make the changes, the subform also changes. So let's get it so the report actually opens with a button click. So I'm going to close this report here, back into the design of my form. I'm then going to select the button and I'm going to draw the button on the stage. It's going to open up the wizard. I'm going to select report option, open report, and click on next. It's then going to select which report. I've only got one at the moment, so select the report you want to open, click on next. I can then click on text, and what I'm going to use is preview report, because when I click on this it shows me the report and then I actually have to click on it to print. Click on next. I'll leave it as command and click on finish. So now I have a preview report. So I'm just going to go Command S to save that, go back to the runtime view. So if I select Morty 7, preview, you can see that report. If I go back and select 3, which is Rick, click on preview report, you now see that. So having the macro button makes it really useful. You can also have a look at my YouTube channel to find other information on how to create forward and back buttons and also close buttons. Now that we've done that, what we would like to do is actually tidy this report up a little bit more. So we're going to go back to the design of the report, because at the moment we can see Rick, we see the student ID being repeated, the last name being repeated, we've got some student ID being cut off, we've got course ID being cut off, so we want to fix some of those things as well. So we're going to go back into the design. It's not a good idea to have data being repeated in your database. You already know it after the first one, but it uses a lot of ink to print that. So we want to reduce that duplication. To do that, I'm just going to click above here and make some more space in the header part. I'm then going to select the student, hold down my shift key. So that's the student ID, first name, last name. And I'm just going to cut that, Command X, click in the page header and go Command V. And then I'm going to move those into position. Now the page header will appear on the top of every page. So it's a good idea to have the student name on the top of every page. And I'm just going to move those back a little bit. Now the other problem, when I go to the runtime view now, is all the course title and cost, etc. are all on the right hand side of the page, but now we only see the student ID once and Rick and Sanchez. So we'll go back into the design again. What I want to do is close the property sheet at the moment, pick up the course ID, hold down the shift again, course title and cost, move those down into position. I'm going to make course ID just a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to click on course ID and stretch that out a little bit. And then I want to do the same here. And then I want to hold down shift and title and cost, move those across, move cost back a little bit. Let's run the report now. You see that we've lost all the duplication of Rick, Sanchez, etc. You can do a concatenation and put that into one field if you like. And I just want to fix student ID up. So I'm just going to move this across just a little bit and then make student ID just that little bit bigger. So in the report now, you can actually see student ID, first name, last name. So you can work with the cosmetics and change the fonts and all those sorts of things as well. Now the last thing I want to do is find the total cost of the courses. I also want to see what the GST is, and I want to know the number of courses they're enrolled in. Now to do this, we go into the design view again. And this is a little bit different because you can see here report footer. I want to bring that down. So even though you've got the page footer here, this is going to be in the report footer. What we want to do is add a field, and I'm going to click here. And this is going to add up the costs. So this is going to be equal to the sum, round bracket, square bracket. So the sum of the cost, square bracket, round bracket. So when it runs now, you can see that it adds up to 2,000. It doesn't have dollar signs, and we haven't done the label yet, so we'll fix those as well. So let's do the label first. We'll put total cost in here. And then we'll select the field of the sum, go to property sheet, and underneath format, we'll change this to currency. Click on save, run. We now have 2,000 appearing in here. If I want to see the GST, the other thing I need to do is give this field a name. At the moment it's called just text 15, so I'm going to call this total cost. So that's now the name of this text box, or the field, sorry. So now I want to draw another field here, and this one's going to be equal to square bracket total cost, which is the field above, times 0.1, which is the GST. So you can now see the formula appear up there, and also, once again, I want this to be currency, and I'll change the label to GST. When I run my report now, you can now see it's 2,000 in total, which is 9, 15, 2,000. 10% of 2,000 is 200, so we can now see total cost and GST. We can count the number of items that are in the list. So if you're doing an invoice, you could have the number of items in the invoice. So once again, we're going to add another field here, and this will be course count, be better, and that's going to be equal to the count. And you can pick any field above, so round bracket, square bracket. I'm just going to use cost again, square bracket, round bracket. So it's just going to count how many times a record appears. Just save that, run my report now, and you can see that there's 4 on the list. So let's just close this, go back and select, say, Leon Marsden, which has 3 courses. Click on preview report. You see Leon Marsden, you see the course IDs, the course information, the total of the course, the GST, also how many courses I'm enrolled in. So I hope you found this tutorial useful. If you did, give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Also, have a look around my YouTube channel for other useful database tutorials. And I wish you all the best in your database development.